This is a computer that I made, well, 25 years ago now, a long time ago. And as you can see, the display, which is the only output from it, is broken, so you can't see anything on it anymore. I think it does power up and run, but its function, which was to draw patterns on the display, doesn't actually work anymore. I've had a look at buying a replacement, and you can get them, but they're about £360, which is a bit much. So I might have a go at putting some other display on there, maybe an SPI display or something, if I can find one. It'd be nice to get it working again, really. It's got a power connector and a couple of buttons. That was for operating the menu, so you could put different patterns on there. Now inside, it's a scratch built. Here we go. It's a scratch built 6502 system, and it's actually built on veroboard using wires. So there's wires here, which is the address and data bus running round, and some other wires to go to the LCD. It's got a 6502, an oscillator over here, little power supply there. It's got a decoder here for the address bus, which is a 154, 74LS154, which gives you quite a lot of outputs. And it's got some memory mapped spaces here for EPROMs and ROMs. I've got RAM, EPROM here, and empty space there. Over here, the I/O is done using a 6821, which is actually from a different family of chips, but it does work quite well with a 6502. I probably use that just because I had some. And there's another 40-pin socket there, which isn't populated, which I think is for another 6821. But for this application, I didn't need it. It was just an LCD, and that's, I think, probably about 10 bits, maybe 8 bits to get that operating. So this is before cheap PCBs, so I didn't have a PCB made because that would have been very expensive at the time. So it's all done using wires, so every single signal is done using a wire. That took a while, but that's how you had to do it. This is also before Arduinos and cheap microcontroller boards like that. So if you wanted something like this, you had to make it yourself, basically, from chips. But yeah, things have moved on a bit, and it's definitely something that I'd do on a PCB now. In fact, the Z80 Shield for the Arduino that I did recently, that was a PCB prototype. It was too much really to mill. I've got a machine that I can mill PCBs on, but something like this would just take too long. It's easier to get it sent off and get it done by a cheap PCB manufacturer, which is great. But yeah, that's a scratch built from nothing at all, really. Not sure I can get it out. There's nothing much on the other side. If I flip it over, all the wiring is on the other side, or the vast majority of it, other than things that are pretty simple to do. So all the buses and so on are on the other side, so you can check as you're wiring it up that it's actually wired up correctly without having to flip the board over all the time. So pretty neat on the back. Not quite so neat on the front though. It's a little bit untidy. Could do with some cable tying here and here. But I have actually tied the buses down, so there's bundles of wires here for the address and data buses, and they're tied down with bits of wire. You can sort of see it there running through holes in the board just to keep it a bit tidier. But yeah, made that a very long time ago. Now I did power it up just now, and all the supplies are correct, and I think it probably is running. It's just the display's smashed. So that's a bit of a shame. I could maybe wire. I could put a small OLED display on there, but the whole purpose was to use the large LCD. But you can get them. I'll have a look at doing that maybe in the future. It would be nice getting it working. I don't know whether the 6502's got enough grunt to drive a large panel. You probably want something about the same resolution. And this was, I think it's 240 by 128. There we go. All it does now is display that random pattern, which is probably slowly changing as the LCD oxidises.